Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, the 16th day of January 2026. And of course, it is a brand spanking new year. This is the first time I'm coming here for the new year. And they say better late than never. But I was intended to be here last week, but of course there was a funeral that which I attended. And so I'm here this afternoon and I'm happy to be here. And I want to start by wishing everyone who are listening to this program at this point in time Happy New Year. I want to extend heartfelt greetings and best wishes for a peaceful, healthy, and prosperous 2026. You know, the past year has been one filled with challenges, of course, for some, and also a year filled with collective resilience, so to speak. Persons have found a way to maneuver the challenges and the difficulties, but also would have spent some time to enjoy themselves throughout the whole of last year. And so I am deeply grateful to be wishing you Happy New Year this year. And as I said last year, I pray that the Lord would give us strength and health and long life so that we can wish each other a Happy New Year next year this time as well. And so it is my prayer that we'll be around to do just that next year as well. So this new year, I feel, is filled with a lot of renewed hope and opportunities that we can all take advantage of. And so from my personal standpoint, I am making the commitment here and now to be the best person I can be throughout 2026. And of course, I want to wish as well all of the folks, all of the constituents of Nevis 11, St. Thomas's and St. James, a blessed and healthy and prosperous new year as well. And my commitment is always there to the people of both parishes, one constituency. And so we continue to ask God's blessings as we go along. It is indeed a pleasure, like I said, to come here every Friday afternoon from 1 to 2 p.m. And indeed, we have been here for a few years now, and we continue to come and bring some matters that are important to the community, and I impart my own personal opinion as I go along as well. So either which way, we have done quite a number of things over the past couple of years. More so last year, we would have had different opinions expressed there, and we had different persons who came on with me here on the show. Of course, I would have given a few young persons a chance to come and tell their story. Of course, we would have started with Mrs. Joel Brown Wilkin, who would have come and spoken about her business exploits. Then we would have had Miss Monique Washington, who came along as well. Also, Mr. Ryan Jones, an electrician, and let's say he's a contractor. And of course, my cousin there, Chanel Skeet, would have come and told her story as well. This year, we'll reach out to additional persons and anyone who would want to come and tell your story and give yourself some exposure. We are always happy to accommodate you. Try to keep it as clean and as wholesome around here. So those of you who would want to, just let me know and we'll make the necessary arrangements. I want to, at this point, say good afternoon to my friend over there in Barnaby, Mrs. Violet Baby Perkins. You know, it was good to see you a couple of Sundays ago, Miss Perkins, or Mrs. Perkins. Came to church. You know, those of you who are familiar with Baby Perkins, you know, she's not as agile as in the past, and she don't come to church as often as she used to. She used to come every Sunday, but of course with age and health, you know, concerns and conditions, she is more or less inclined to listen and follow the church service online. So that is the beauty of technology. If you can't come to church, then you can be a part of the church family by logging on, and she normally would do that. And she told me last time I saw her, which was about 2 or 3 Sundays ago, I listen to you every Friday, you know, and that warmed my heart, and I thank you for that, baby. At least someone is listening. And when we think that no one is listening or hardly anyone is listening, there's someone out there, many persons out there listening. So baby, God be with you, and I want to wish you all the best throughout this year and beyond. because I believe the Lord has all in store for you, and He will determine. But we wish all the best to you and the entire family as well, and everyone else who would listen from time to time. I normally would start by hailing up persons here on Nevis, down in St. Kitts, in Statia, Sabre, St. Bart's, French and Dutch St. Martin, US and British Virgin Islands, and then I make my way back to the southeast, Antigua and Barbuda, going down towards Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados out there in the southeast, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, and all the way down to Trinidad and Tobago, and way south of us, Guyana. Why I do that is because we have quite a number of Caribbean nationals who are with us, who are living here, working here, and some who are visiting as well. And we thank them for coming to help us with the overall development of the island of Nevis, but also those who have come to visit. Of course, you've brought some money to spend in our economy, so we appreciate that as well. And of course, going back further north and west, we have citizens in Puerto Rico, the Bahamas, of course, and Bermuda and those places, and up in the United States, of course, from South Florida all the way up to the Northeast, New Hampshire, Vermont, and those smaller states. But I'll make a stop in New York because I know we have a large population there of our nationals who are working there, living there, and going to school in New York. And I want to say good afternoon to all of you who are listening. And then, of course, we'll even go over into the Midwest, places like Texas, Missouri, Oklahoma. We have students there as well, and persons living there also, and indeed in the West, the absolute West, California, Oregon, Washington State, the whole of the United States. Why don't I say that? But I just wanted to show off that I know a couple of states. I know all 50, as a matter of fact. I can recall when I went to school in the United States, you had to label the entire U.S. map. A blank map, and you put on all of the states. That was the initiation of getting to know the United States. But anyway, let's go up to Canada, and the whole of Canada. I want to say good afternoon, good morning, good day to you. And then we go up into Europe, of course. We have, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Denmark, all of them. All of the countries there in Europe where we have our nationals. And someone reminded me that we have citizens in Russia. Because of course through our citizenship by investment program we've had Russians who have bought citizenships in the past. It's not so much so now, but anyway. And then we go into Asia and shout up our nationals there in the Republic of China, Taiwan, students and also citizens who are there working and making a contribution there as well. That is one of our major partners, one of our major allies, and we wish everyone there well. It's morning there, just almost 1:10 in the morning on a Saturday morning, so I say good morning to you. Okay, so we come back home now and we go into our program in full, but it is important that we touch some of these things before we get started. But before I go any further, when I came into the building, or before I came into the building just now, I had a look at Nevis. Look at the mountain, Nevis Peak and Saddle Hill. Oh, it is gorgeous outside. A beautiful day here on Nevis. And why I'm rubbing this in is because some of you there in the United States are probably dealing with cold weather, snow at this time. It is a good time and a fitting time to make some plans and come and thaw out yourself here on Nevis, get some of the cold out of your body. Come home and, spend a few weeks with us if you can, because of course you have to work. You have bills to pay there in the United States or in Canada or Europe. Wherever you are, you have your bills to pay. But if you can, come on home and enjoy this beautiful weather that we're experiencing at this time. Gorgeous outside. It's nice and lush, and the sun is not that too hot today, but there's a cooling effect with some breeze blowing across the landscape, so it is very nice outside. So I just had to put that in before I move along, because it's always good to wake up in paradise, and so I don't want to enjoy all this by myself. Come on and enjoy it for yourself also. Let's get moving further along. Normally we have a format, and at this time we normally would express condolences to the grieving families out there, and there are quite a number of families who are grieving at this time and who are having to deal with the loss of a loved one. family member, friend, or whatever the case might be. And so we want to share with you in your sympathies and difficult times, and say to you that we understand. We don't know, but we understand. And of course, who understands is the Almighty, and we want you to put your trust and faith in the Almighty, who knows and who understands more than we do, and He would provide comfort to you at this time. I just want to single out the Swanston family over there in, well, the Swanston family is originally from Brick Hill, right up there in Whitehall. And then, of course, most of them would have moved out of the island, and some would have gone down to Libert Hill and now down into, you call it Newcastle or Round Hill area. So, Larry Swanston, I'm singling you out because you're the one who I interact with on a regular basis, and I believe McLean Swanston would have come in yesterday to, undertake the final celebration of the life of their brother, cousin, friend, Mr. Mowbray Swanston, who would have passed away, I believe, 2 Saturdays ago. Or last Saturday, was it? No, 2 Saturdays ago. So I want to express my sympathies, and of course, we all grew up there in Whitehall. I'm just across the street there from Goat Hole. You know, I love saying Goat Hole. It sounds good, right? Yeah, man, Goat Hole. So I know of the Swanston family from a little boy coming up, and Mowbray, I'm not too familiar with Mowbray, to be honest with you. He would have left when he was a young chap, and just came back to Nevis recently, and so all those years I would have missed. But I know the other siblings. Be that as it may, I want to wish everyone all the best in terms of banding together at this point in time to ensure that you can get through this difficult situation in the best possible way. It's not easy to lose someone, especially a close family member or a sibling, whatever the case might be, but you know, these are the cycles of life, which is you're born, you live your life, and then at some point we'll all die. Every single one of us will depart this life, so we just have to prepare accordingly. Okay. And a couple of days ago we were informed of the unfortunate passing of someone who was a regular fixture, someone who we knew very well for many years, someone who was full of life, of course, and someone who, I will say with a little smile, someone who can give you, you know, as they say sometimes, a little six upside down, you know. But we all enjoy interacting with Sterling Heiliger, but he would have passed and gone on to the great beyond just 2 days ago. I will not say anything about that circumstance because I myself am at a loss, and I'm still not too sure what would have happened there. That is left to the authorities to do their investigation, as the news report would have suggested. And so my personal feeling at this point is just to express condolences to his entire family, including, of course, Saskia Mills' daughter, and also Ariel Maynard over there in Barnaby, and all of the other siblings. But those 2 daughters I'm familiar with because they're in my constituency up there in St. James, and we interact on a regular basis, and I'll get a chance to catch up with both of them one-on-one. In these circumstances, I don't like to make phone calls. I like to show up, sit, and have a conversation, you know, because that is more personal, and that in that way you can get your message conveyed. So you both will see me, but in the meantime, continue to believe in God, trust in God, and understand that there are certain things that you may not have the answer to, but He has the answer to it, and the answers will be found one way or the other. So anyone else who are in the bereaved column, I want to express sympathies to you at this time. Moving right along from those circumstances to happier times, I'm sure there is someone, and there are persons out there who are celebrating at this point in time, and I want to express my best wishes to you. You may be celebrating a birthday, you may be celebrating a wedding anniversary, you may be celebrating a milestone of some sort, but whatever you're celebrating, I want to wish you all the best, and ask that you include God in anything that you do, so that He can enrich and embellish whatever you're doing, yeah? Whether you're going out for dinner, whether you're traveling, whatever you're doing, just ensure that you have the good Lord a part of your celebration. And as I've said before, and I continue to say, if you're celebrating a birthday, celebrate as if it's the last one you're celebrating. And what I mean by that is that go on out and have a fabulous time. If you have $10, spend $5 on yourself. If you have 100, spend 50 on yourself. Yeah? Whatever you do, just go out and enjoy yourself. Let me just, I apologize, but I forgot to do what I should have done, is put my phone on mute. Okay, now that I've done that. Okay, I'm sorry about that. So, you go out and enjoy yourself, and it is always said that nothing in life is worth living for if you don't have the freedom to enjoy it. You have the freedom of your money. You have the freedom of living in Nevis. You have the freedom of enjoying all of the ambiances around here. So go on out and enjoy yourself. Yeah? And that is my admonition to you. And I want to also say at this point in time, my good friend celebrated yesterday, Colin Freeman down there at TDC. I said my good friend, former schoolmate, former classmate. And Colin, the reason why I'm singling this out is that you and I, pretty much the same age, yeah. You might be a bit older by a few months, yes. But we are both here to, see a new year. But also, I am here to wish you a happy belated birthday. We'll meet up and have something to drink. But let me tell you, I'm not drinking any liquor with you if you want liquor to drink. I'm just saying that publicly. I will drink a glass of water, a glass of wine, because one thing I'll say is that liquor costs money. Rum costs money, and it brings no value to your body. Not you in particular, but I'm just talking in general. So we spend all this money on alcohol, and it is of no value to your body. And then when you create difficulties, health conditions, then you have to take your money to solve all those problems. So the wisdom behind not getting too close to that bottle is important, yeah? And I just wanted to say that in passing. But, of course, we all have the freedom to do whatever we so desire, but I have chosen to leave that alone. Yeah? So, Colin, when we catch up, I'll sip on a bottle of water, a glass of water. You can sip on whatever you so desire. Enjoy yourself. But I hope you had a wonderful day yesterday, and I wish you many more years of celebration as we go through this lifetime. Yeah? Okay, so moving right along as well. Quickly, just public announcement. Let me say there are some persons over in the constituency of St. James who have had some health challenges in recent times. I want to wish you all the best. I want to pray that the Lord will provide, all of the necessary strength that is needed for you to recover, so that you can continue to make your contribution to the development of the island of Nevis, and more so the support that is needed by your family as well. So my good friend up there in Fountain, Shine, Daniel, he has an expensive name, Cleflin. I think that is his correct name, but sometimes I stumble over it. So we just say Shine. Shine, I hope you're doing well at this time. I know you had some procedures recently, and I want to wish you all the best in your recovery. Of course, my good friend up there in Whitehall, just across the street from Goat Hole, Anita Nisbet, I want to wish you a speedy recovery, Anita. And I know you have had many years on this earth, and we wish you many more. So continue to hold on in faith. There is an old song, I believe it's not Joseph Niles, Hold On in Faith, something along those lines. So if you can just repeat that in your head from time to time. Of course, Teacher Lana Doris, I stopped by to see her at the hospital there earlier this week, but she was resting at the point in time. So Teacher Lana, if you're hearing me, I wish you a speedy recovery, and anyone else who are at the Alexandria Hospital, I wish you all the best with your recovery. And of course, while I'm at that, let me shout out my good friend over there in Combombe, Mrs. Chapman. Mrs. Chapman, good day, and hopefully you're smiling as usual. Beautiful smile, always smiling lady that is, and I wish you well. I want to also say that you'll hear more about this, but the Concerned Citizens Movement this year will be celebrating 40 years of existence. we will be coming to the public with a program, a whole schedule of activities throughout the entire 2026, and so look forward to hearing more about that. I will not say any more about that at this point in time because I don't have the official schedule, I don't have the official word, but I'm just putting that out there. That is on the horizon, and that will be something to look forward to. When the time comes, we solicit the support of one and all in our activities as we go throughout 2026. Okay, moving right along. Every month I come with the data from the operations and movements over there at the Oale water taxi facility, and indeed December concluded the year 2025, but I was not able to come here until now, so I'm giving that report now, and then I'll give the statistics or the data for the whole of 2025 and also where we are since we started the operations over there and maintaining the data that we have been doing, because as I said before, data as it is, numbers convey a message, and depending on how you use those numbers or the data that is provided, it can give you a sense as to where you're heading, where you're coming from and where you're heading, and how to plan for the future and what needs to be done to improve as you go along. So as it is, for December of 2025, we would have seen passenger movement over at the Oale water taxi facility of 31,128 passengers. I'm not going to go into the details of who went and how many went and how many would have come back. We leave that for now, but I have all that. But someone just probably said to them, why don't you call him? Okay, let's do that. So passengers leaving Oale heading to Reggae Beach, 15,282 passengers, and of course passengers leaving Reggae Beach coming to Oale water taxi, 15,998 passengers, for a total of 31,128 passengers. Compared to last year, though, December, there was passenger movement of just about 26,743 passengers. So we had an improvement this year, or an increase of 4,385 passengers, which is an increase as well of just about 15%, a little under 15% in increase, but I round it off at 15%. So we continue to see every month and every year incremental increase in the movement of passengers because of the impact that that particular facility has had. I will say, from a global standpoint, in terms of numbers, at the end of November last year, if you recall, I did say that passenger movement from May of 2019 to November of 2025 was 1,376,331 passengers. So we are now adding November to get the overall December to get the overall global picture. So then we added 31,128 passengers. So by the end of 2025, we had passenger movement, which is the end of 2025, and we started keeping this data in May of 2019. So those years leading up to the end of December 2025, 1,407,459 passengers. Remarkable numbers. And of course, we also would have kept the data of passenger movement between January of 2025 to December of 2025, which is 310,094 passengers. How does that compare to 2024? In 2024, there were just about 244,000 passengers who would have used that facility both in and out. So based on the statistics we have, or the data that we have, there was a 27% increase in passenger movement for 2025 over 2024. So we see these numbers keep increasing month after month, year after year, And so when you look at the investment that was made, which I have said in the past, this is an investment that was meant to transform the way that we travel here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and the numbers speaking to such, because of course we are aware that persons use that facility to go to St. Kitts, for example, to work, perhaps at the Park Hyatt and other institutions over in St. Kitts, and then of course vice versa, because persons use that facility to come to Nevis, to work on Nevis, to conduct business on Nevis, and do various things on Nevis. In terms of other things that they would do is come for entertainment, go to the various bars and shops here on the island of Nevis, guest houses, patronize the car rentals, and other things that persons would have to do here on the island of Nevis. Indeed, in terms of the workforce, there have been a growing number of persons who have sought and have gained employment over there at that facility. And then there's the spin-off effect as well, the multiplier effect, because it ripples through the entire economy. And so when you're talking about 1.4 million passengers moving back and forth, you just have to do the maths. I'm not going to count anybody's monies, but this will equate to well over $40 million that has been generated by that particular facility. Some may not like to hear it. Some people don't like to hear me talk about money. But when money is being made, I am happy for those who are making money, because where do you go without money these days? Nowhere. You probably can go down to the beach and say, I'm going for a swim, and don't have to take any money, because there's nothing there to buy when you go. But you'll take some money in your pocket anyway, just in case. So you need money for everything. Money to send your children to school, money to pay your car note, money to pay your mortgage, money to pay your insurances, money to, pay for entertainment, buy your food, groceries, and the likes. But you need money for everything. And when you look at the money that has been generated over there at this particular facility, we have to say this is an income generating investment that continue to impact both the economy on St. Kitts and the economy here on the island of Nevis. So the entire federation is impacted in a positive way. And when I also see these guests who are coming from these cruise ship over on St. Kitts, they come over for their trip when they arrive on St. Kitts, and so we have been able to provide the ease of access to those passengers as well. And when they come, they get a chance to see the beautiful island of Nevis, so they take in 2 islands on one trip. And of course, when they decide to come back, we're hoping that they'll jump on a plane, come back to Nevis, and enjoy Nevis for a week, 2 weeks, for that matter, whatever they choose to do. So there are significant spin-off from that particular facility, significant to the point that we continue to speak about it and continue to appreciate the need for this investment. And when we thought about it, this is what we anticipated, this is what we expected, and this is what we are seeing. And so we have to speak about it every time we get a chance, because of the impact that it has had. And of course, we continue to ask the persons who are involved in the operations over there, the boat owners, boat operators, persons who work there, continue to adhere to safety protocols and continue to offer the best service possible over there. Because as the saying goes, you never get a second chance to create a first impression. Those people who come from the cruise ships, they're coming perhaps to Nevis for the first time, so that first impression counts. And so I am imploring and begging and asking and beseeching all who are involved, continue to take care of the facility, continue to offer the best service possible, and continue to do the things that create that impression in the minds of those who come, so that they'll come back time and time again. You're ambassadors, so be the best ambassadors that you can, whether you're operating the boat, whether you're first mate or second mate on the boat, whether you're one of the security personnel over there, whether you're a taxi operator, whether you're Uber driver, whether you're a restaurateur, whether you're a hotel owner, whatever you are, offer the best service, yeah? Because that is what we depend on, that is what we rely on, okay? Very good. Let's move on then. Okay. At the end of January every year, the 31st of January, we know what to expect. We expect to see the voters list. That is the register of voters who have registered up to the end of November from the previous year. So for example, this year, this January the 31st, we'll see the voters list being published of persons who would have registered up to the 30th of November 2025. So that list is expected to be published shortly. And the interesting thing is that I will say this: I have not heard a thing from the supervisor of elections since January of 2025. Now, let me put in a footnote. If he said something or uttered any sort of public announcement, perhaps I missed it. And if I missed it, then it is my submission to you that I did not hear. But I'm saying at this point in time, the last time I heard any public pronouncement or announcement was back in January of 2025, when this same list was to be published. Yeah, and so it must be of concern to all of us that this particular what do you call it, this particular thing called our electoral process, it has to be managed in such a way where we have that confidence, or continue to grow in confidence over this particular process. And so we haven't heard anything. Perhaps we'll hear something from the supervisor of election shortly, of course, but I am saying that it must be of concern to all of us in this country that it appears that we are not being updated regularly. We have not heard even of lists that should have come out perhaps somewhere in October. I forgot what they call that list. It's not a supplemental list. It is an updated list that comes out periodically. I haven't heard much about that from the supervisor. I haven't heard much from anybody, but it is of concern. So here's what is going to happen. That list will be published shortly, and it is keeping with what is mandated under section 43 subsection 1 of the electoral laws. And so what you'll do when that is published is to ensure that your name is there. And what that also provides for is that persons who are registered in a constituency that they no longer live, that person or those persons are asked to go to the electoral office to initiate what is called a transfer. And if that is not done, then anyone in a particular constituency, in a particular area that you're registered, for example, if you're registered in Butlers and you look at that list and you see someone who is now no longer living in Butlers, you can object to that person. Same thing applies to anywhere on the island of Nevis. So, but someone from Charlestown cannot object to someone in Butlers, but someone who live in that particular constituency and in that particular area can do so. So the time to object will be, I believe, from the 1st of the time to transfer your name to the constituency in which you live. You have that window between February 1st to February 10th. And I believe that's the same window within which you can raise and submit objections. And then sometime after that, the hearings will be held. So, if you feel your name was not included in the register when it should be, then you'll need to bring that to the attention of the folks at the electoral office. And if you feel someone is on that list who should not be there in the area where they claim to be, then of course you can raise that objection as well. So that is coming up shortly. And of course, like I said, we need to do what is right in terms of register where you live. And of course, if you find yourself on the list on election day in an area where you're registered, of course, you vote where you're registered. But the important thing and the legal thing to do is to register where you live. So that is something to consider, and I ask everyone to go on out and do what is necessary in that regard. Okay, so let's go further along with our presentation today. Most times we take a few minutes to get some of these things out of the way, because they're important to the general discourse as well. We can come and get into the meat of politics and talk politics all day, but of course there are important things that are hinged to the politics, especially our electoral process and elections here on the island of Nevis. We want to ensure that they are as free and as fair as possible, and that persons are doing the right thing and registering where they should. I recall, before I go on, I recall some years ago, it was back under the NRP days, you know, back in the mid 2000s or latter part of 2000 and 2008, 9 thereabout, yeah. And I say latter part of 2000, but it should be the latter part of the period of time when the NRP was in government. We would have seen this wholesale transfer of persons from St. Kitts, persons from Tabernacle, persons from Keon, persons from Diet Bay, persons from way down in the west and north of St. Kitts, who didn't even know where Butlers was, who didn't know where Brown Hill was, who didn't know where Stony Grove was, but they were transferring in large numbers because of the machination and the operation that was in place at that time. Persons were doing such evil at that point that we had to speak out and speak out loudly. Those who were familiar with what was going on then can recall that persons' names were removed from the voters list here in Nevis unceremoniously. Persons who didn't get any notification that their names were being removed. Persons who were alive and well were removed because it was said that those persons were deceased. And of course, a deceased person showed up in court when the court hearing was held. That election petition was held down there at the High Court. But anyway, persons were being removed, Nevisians were being removed from the voters list. Over 200 plus were removed. And yet still at the same time, persons from St. Kitts who knew nothing about Nevis, who didn't know any village in Nevis, coming from way down to the back of St. Kitts up there the northwest, Diet Bay and those areas, were being transferred to Nevis under the NRP. Those were the situations that we had to deal with then. And I'm saying now, I'm hoping that we don't have to deal with those ever again in our electoral process here on the island of Nevis. And so I want us all to keep an eye on what is going on. Keep an eye on the electoral process, because obviously the supervisor of elections, who should be doing so, I don't know if he is, but I don't get the feeling that he is doing so, because we haven't heard, we haven't seen, and I don't know if he comes to Nevis from time to time to look at the operation over here. I don't know. All I will say is that when other supervisors were there, and I must say publicly, to his credit, Mr. Elvin Bailey, he was once the supervisor of elections, and we heard from him on a regular basis. We heard from him even when we didn't want to hear from him. And Bailey, I don't mean any discourtesies, but I'm just saying that you were out there, you were talking, you were relating to the general public, and that's what you must do as a public official when you're given such mandate and such authority. People believe in that position, people rely on that position, and that is why it was important then under Mr. Bailey and others to do the right thing. And he was communicating regularly. So congratulations and kudos to you, Mr. Bailey. I'm doing it publicly, as I do on the street when I meet you. Yeah. But on a serious note, that is an important position, because that position controls some important tools that can determine how our democracy is viewed and what happens during an election. So that is important. Okay, I just thought I'll slip that in as I go along, and moving right along to the next topic. Yes, this is my first program after the budget presentations there on St. Kitts in December. And of course, you'd have heard from all of the representatives from Nevis, you'd have heard from the government side and all of the other persons on the opposition benches down there at the federal parliament. I want to say congratulations to the premier of Nevis, but more so the leader of the opposition in the federal parliament, the Honorable Mark Brantley. Congratulations to the Deputy Premier here on Nevis, but also a representative there in the Federal Parliament, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, and of course the Deputy Speaker of the Federal Parliament, the Honorable Latoya Jones. Everyone would have presented their made their presentation, at the federal level, and everyone did a marvelous job. Well, I'll say, including myself, I thought I did reasonably well, and indeed we would have pushed heavily on matters pertaining to Nevis. You know, when you listen to the debate in the Federal Parliament, of course, when the members of the government are speaking, they'll speak about government matters, and most, if not all of those government matters and issues pertain to St. Kitts. And so when we stand up or get up to speak, we speak about St. Kitts, yes, but more so about matters pertaining to the island of Nevis, which is the other half of the federal setup. So if we speak about Nevis and speak about roads in Nevis, speak about water in Nevis, speak about electricity in Nevis, we are still speaking about what goes on in the Federation, albeit it is on the island of Nevis. And so we are representative of the island of Nevis, because constituents in 9, 10, and 11 would have voted for us to go to St. Kitts to represent and to speak on their behalf. And that is what we have done since we have been elected to the Federal Parliament. And we have done a marvelous job too in terms of pushing what I feel is a major issue, one that we have spoken about from day one until now. And when I said day one, even back in 2015, even back in 2013, we have been speaking about our fair share, what is rightfully ours. And so we have not gotten the support from the other side here on the island of Nevis. As a matter of fact, they won't give us the support because the other side, the NRP, was once a part of the federal government, not just in parliament but in cabinet. And we know that we never heard one thing being said by the NRP or any representative of the NRP about fair share for Nevis. Never hear about fair share, fear whatever, nothing fair, nothing whatsoever. And as a matter of fact, the NRP was in a position then between 2010 to 2013 or 2015, but more so between 2010 to 2013, when there was a minority government at the federal level where they had 5 persons in government, or 5 elected representatives, along with the lone NRP representative. And of course, in a position such as that, you could have asked for any amount of money for Nevis, didn't ask. You could have asked for any amount of persons or ambassadors to be stationed anywhere throughout the world, didn't ask. Could have asked for anything to do with infrastructure, didn't ask. Yes, they did ask about a guarantee for geothermal, which never came. For some reason, it was never granted. We didn't get the real reason as to why. But based on what was said then is that what was asked for by the federal government couldn't be granted. So I don't know what it was. Never came to light as to what they would have asked for from the federal level. But nothing, we can speak of hardly anything. Let me say hardly anything, because I'm going to go into some numbers here and I would tell you the true story as to what happened under the NRP, even when they were in government in St. Kitts, because you'll hear them talk as if they never was in government in Bastia. They were in government in Bastia and they stood up. Their lone representatives stood up in parliament down there in St. Kitts and said Nevis don't want anything. So if you're on the same bench sitting down with someone who is from Nevis, and they get up and they say Nevis don't want anything, you know what they did when he got up and said that? Knock on the desk. Hey, laughing and say, oh my, look at this Nevis boy come down and say Nevis don't want anything. Nevis don't want nothing. So when you hear the NRP talking, keep in mind they were in government before. They spent 20 years in the federal parliament down there from 2000 up until 2020. That's when we got rid of the representative for NRP. And lo and behold, that removal would have spelled changes for the island of Nevis. Here's why. We know we have been talking about fair share of the CBI receipts, that's the citizenship by investment revenue. non-tax revenue, the sale of a passport that says St. Kitts and Nevis. And some may say we're going over this thing over and over again. Listen, we're going to come to the word reparation to, because, of course, there have been some talk about reparation from enslavement and so forth. I'm not going into that discussion because I want to talk about things that are more immediate and things that are before us and not things of the past. Way back in 1800s, which I am going to say now that anything to do with reparation from slavery, I don't even know if that is going to be an issue that will be taken up by any major country out there, whether Britain, France, Germany, or whomever. That is, in my opinion, a non-starter, but that is just my opinion. Let us look at reparation for the island of Nevis based on what we're going to talk about now. We know that the CBI receipts have been increasing year after year, even up until recently. But let's look at 2010. Based on the numbers that we were given and the research that was done, because these were divulged, and I made the notes as the leader of the opposition, Mark Brantley, would have made his presentation. In 2010, CBI program would have realized $140.9 million. What came to Nevis? A big fat zero. NRP was in government with the Labour Party at that time. Zero came. 2011, $241.9 million. How much came to Nevis? Zero. A big fat zero came to Nevis in 2011. 2012, $246.3 million. What came to Nevis? $11.1 million. That's when the NRP was there. 2013, $391.3 million. What came to Nevis? $8.2 million. Now, throughout those 4 years, because the Consensus Citizens Movement got into government in 2013, $1,434,800,000 was collected through that program. What came to Nevis during those years? 11.1 plus 8.2, that looks like $19.3 million at that point in time. And add on to that $4 million alone. So you could say Nevis got 19.3 plus 4, that's what, 23.3 million? But take away that 4 because that was a loan. So you could say under the NRP, when they were in government with the Labour Party, up until 2015, because remember, 2015 is when government changed, and NRP had their lone representative in government between 2010 and 2015, and that is what we would have seen. $1.4 billion was collected, and NRP would have received 19.3. Put aside that loan, because I'm not counting that as anything other than what I would say was a disgrace in my opinion, at that point in time. I'm going to fast forward to 2015 based on time, though, for now. Between the years 2015 to 2022 August is when we had the federal election. Well, prior to that, we were out of government because the bigger boss over there said that he fired 6 of us. Well, that's his claim anyway. But we fired him before he fired us, if the truth is told, yeah? Because when we went to the Governor General with what we feel was the thing that we wanted done, which was to have him replaced at that point in time, Governor General was advised differently. I am so happy that history will say and determine and show us that the Honorable Michael Perkins, when he was advised by the same lawyer, he saw it differently and took a different path, and that is why things unfolded as they did. Anyway, in 2015 to 2022, $3.2 billion was collected through this program. Nevis got just about 396 million. And based on a post that was made by the Prime Minister on the 8th of January, and I went and checked it out because there was 85 likes, 165 comments, and then I believe there were a number of sharing of that particular post, where he admitted that Nevis received the short end of the stick. his numbers were not correct. All I will say that to this date, we would have collected just about $600 million. And if it is that we should have gotten $1.4 billion, then $800 million is somewhere in Bastia belonging to the people of Nevis. That is why I used the word reparation before, because here's where I am calling on the NRP and calling on every division to let's forget about reparation for slavery. Throw that in the bucket for now, or in the out of order bundle for now. This is a more important issue for us to undertake, because if it is that we were given the short end of the stick, then it's time for us to galvanize our effort, mobilize as a people, and then let us start to speak with one voice for reparation for the island of Nevis. If you want to call it reparation, compensation, whatever word you want to use, I don't know what other words you can use, but compensation, reparation, whatever word suits your taste. All I'm going to say, when it's all said and done, $800 million is over in Bastia belonging to the people of Nevis. Based on the calculation and based on the admonition by those out there who now see what we have been talking about, meaning, and when I say what we've been talking about, no other person in Nevis have been a bigger advocate than the Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley. He has taken a lot of licks and a lot of flack for it, but he has gone out there and he has maintained his stance that Nevis must receive its fair share. And we can talk about legislating it, we can talk about doing whatever is necessary, but I know for sure the numbers speak for themselves. And if it is we are a federation, and if it is that passport belongs to both St. Kitts and Nevis, I will say that nobody need to legislate what should come our way. It is just fair and fitting and right. So you hear some persons out there who are conducting polls about destiny and say they conducted a poll of 450 persons in Nevis, and X amount of percentage say they don't want, X amount say they want. Listen, those of you who are conducting such poll, you need to conduct a poll about this fair share and reparation for the island of Nevis. Come to Nevis and ask the average Nevisian, do you want your $800 million? And I believe 100% of the people of Nevis will say we want our money. And that is what you do, because there are some on the island of St. Kitts, and I'm not going to call any name because I don't want to get down on any person, any single or persons in a collective way by calling any names. They know who they are, and they know what they've done to the island of Nevis over the years. They know what they've done, and all we have tried to do as Nevisian is to, participate as a willing partner in a federation. But we have always gotten the rotten end of the stick. Because if, for example, this $800 million was received, what could have been done with it? And over there in St. James, the road from Camps, Mount Lily, Fountain, Westbury could have been done. $14 million. We could have done that easily. I know over here at the Mundo track, for example, there's a pavilion to be built. I believe it's $10 million. That could have been built easily. The hospital wing could have been done already too. Geothermal could have gotten the financial input that it needs, of course. You know? The fishermen are crying out for a fisherman pier down there in Charleston. That would have been an easy accomplishment. Build it and have them comfortably moored there down in Charlestown. Of course, there's a debt down in Trinidad for some lands up there in Nugent Heights that the NRP would have messed up, refused to pay. We are now paying it yet, yes. And by my last count, I don't know what the exact figure is, but I believe it's about $2 million US. That's about 5 point something million EC dollars. That could be paid off in a heartbeat, and persons who are still outstanding with their titles up there at Nugent Heights can get the title. That could be easily paid off. Of course, the E.T. Willett Park, I don't know if it's going to stay in that area, but if you want to develop a world-class test venue, I doubt if that would be the area for it. We probably have to search around if it's find an area where we can build a brand new facility. Just like in Antigua when they move out of the ARG in St. John's, where that space would have, that facility would have outlived this space parking and everything. So I don't know. We may have to look at another location for a venue, a test venue, where we can attract regional and international cricket. That is part of our culture around here, of course. We could have been invested in more housing for young people, offer them some soft loans, meaning 3% thereabout. The government input, yes, and they pay back at about 3%. Banks will not be happy about that, but we will be happy as a government meeting the needs of our young people so that they can own their own home, shake their own keys, and waive their own title. There's so many things, infrastructure around Nevis, roads and so forth. We could have put more money into ensuring that we continue to build on the water distribution network here in Nevis, build more tanks, more storage, and ensure that we have the capacity to store more water. Because water is life, and we will be securing our future in that regard. Electricity and, all of the infrastructure here in Nevis could have had. That input of that $800 million. Plus, we're building out our CCTV security network here on the island of Nevis. Send it all around Nevis. Up to date, good technology, good everything, yeah? So, there's so much that could have been done with these monies. As a matter of fact, I look at this property up there at Market Shop, Old Manor, and also Zetland's plantation up there on the hill, up at Zetland's. Imagine we were able to get some money and buy those, and then we figure out, the future of those two locations in terms of what can we do as a government to enhance them, repair them, whatever, or a joint partnership with someone. But you first have to have ownership of them. Some of that money could have gone into those to buy them, of course. Yeah. So many things. Upgrade our schools. Do whatever is necessary. Because with the little that we have gotten over the years, where our water is well secured here. Water don't go off in Nevis as it does in St. Kitts. People over in St. Kitts still catching water in a bucket. It's not me say so, it's they say so. All online they're posting these things. Electricity, they're still renting generators over there. We don't do that on Nevis. We have bought brand new generators with the monies we have had. I spoke to you about the Wally Water Taxi Facility. Its money is from the SIDF, passport money, $6 million, and city facility generating over $40 million thus far and counting. So when we get any resources, we've been able to manage those resources and do a fabulous job with it here on the island of Nevis under the Concerned Citizens Movement. So irrespective of what you might hear out there, right? Because you see on the other side, you hear they're not happy with the doom and gloom and the culture of lies, the culture of deceit, the culture of misinformation. They'll put that out there to you who are not here on the island of Nevis. So if you're in the United States somewhere and you're listening to them, you believe they're talking the gospel. Listen, that is their trait, and that is how they've been over the years. But I'm telling you that when it comes to water on the island of Nevis, no other country or island here in the Caribbean can boast the way that we boast. I said in the federal parliament that we have done so much with water and Nevis that we used to lose 50% or more of the capacity of some of these tanks because they were leaking badly. And what we would have done is install erected brand new tanks all throughout Nevis, so there's 0% loss. And the minister responsible for water over on the other side said that's impossible. I tell him, well, come to Nevis, and sometimes you need to listen, to learn, and perhaps maybe if you learn what we're doing in Nevis, you'll be able to implement in St. Kitts. And it's as simple as that. Sometimes you just have to listen. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, every time I get warm up, time runs out in me. So the time is up. I want to say to the people of St. James, though, in parting, I want to ask you, where's your representative, the local representative? Just a rhetorical question. If you can answer me, you answer me, because I believe it's about 2 months now we haven't heard from the local representative of St. James. Yeah? And so the people of St. James would have to deal with that, I suppose, because there is a saying, sometimes you give up something that is good, looking for something better, only to end up with something worse. So I want to ask once again, where is your representative at the local level? Well, I suppose when you meet me on the street, you'll let me know. Ladies and gentlemen, my time is up. It's just about 2 o'clock. It was indeed my pleasure being here. First show of the year, and with God's blessing, I will be with you throughout, and I always enjoy coming here. Thanks for joining me today. As I always say, if you go to church on a Saturday, go and serve go to church on a Saturday and serve your God. Same thing on a Sunday, sorry. And also pray for this station, pray for me as well, and pray for the island of Nevis and the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, so that the Lord will provide us with the blessings that is needed for us to press on in our pursuit to develop this blessed land of ours. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful and safe weekend. God bless you, and may God continue to be with us and guide us and protect us throughout. Goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are solely those of the participants and